Hello everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining me here today. I've had a couple of parents ask me, my child can read okay, but they can't spell worth beans. How is that even possible? Why can they read but they can't spell? And that's a pretty complicated question actually, but I'm gonna try and give you a few simple answers to it. My name is Norma Jean Maxwell. I am the founder of Time to Shine Teaching and Coaching, and I am an Orton Gillingham reading, spelling, and printing specialist with 20 years working with children, supporting them in their learning, both within the public school system and outside of the public school system. So, back to the question. Why can my child read but they can't spell? Well, the truth is, those are two very different skills. And spelling isn't really being taught in most schools, in most classrooms, I'm sorry to say. I think that there's a lot of teachers out there that think they're teaching spelling, but in fact they're not. And they're coming out of university, they haven't been taught how to teach. And so quite often they're just going to their peers and saying, what spelling program do you use? And the teachers are sharing what they have, and most of the time they're not very good programs. There's only a few really good spelling programs out there, and they're not in the public school system. So here's the difference. When you ask a child to read, you show them the letter and they tell you the sound that that letter makes, if you're teaching phonics. When you want them to spell, you tell them the sound and they write down how that sound is spelled. That is something that is woefully absent in most classrooms. And it's a skill that actually has to be developed. And it doesn't typically come naturally. It has to be taught, directly taught. And so when I'm teaching and working with kids, those two things are taught together, not separately. They are two sides of the same coin. And actually, I also teach printing in there as well, because I think that's three sides of the same coin that should be taught together. Each one supports the other, each one reinforces the other, each one provides an opportunity for repetition. Repetition in a fun way is what actually leads to automaticity. And so when a kid doesn't have to think about that sort of stuff anymore, when it's just automatic, that's when we have strong readers, spellers, and writers. So it's a process to get there. And let me ask you something. And I love doing this within my workshop. I do this with my students, my adult students. I'll say, we're just going to do a simple little activity. I'm going to give you a sound and you're going to write. My dog is licking my toes. Do you want to see my dog? There he is. Silly dog. I'm going to give you a sound and you're going to write down how to spell that sound. And just to make it easier, I'm going to tell you how many possible ways there are to spell that sound. And so the first sound I give is long vowel A. A. And so people write the letter A, and that's right. But you know what? There's 10 ways to spell that sound. Now, I think the most that I've ever had anyone come up with, an adult. These are adults. The most I think that anybody has been able to come up with is 5. Without guidance. So how about the sound D? How many ways is there to spell that sound? Well, you might be surprised to find out that there's 2 ways to spell that sound. What about the sound K? K? There's 5 ways to spell that sound. So imagine if you're a child just learning how to spell and you haven't been directly taught the many ways there are to spell the same sound. Even if you have been taught, that I can use a C to spell the sound, I can use a K. Some kids might even know that they can use a combined CK, that digraph, to spell that sound. But have they been taught when to use what? Because believe it or not, the English language is actually about 84% rule-based, meaning that the spelling follows rules or generalizations. And when we know them, we can apply those rules and generalizations and make our best guess, and 9 times out of 10 we'll be right. The problem is that the kids don't know these rules. They don't know these generalizations. And the reason they don't is because their teachers don't. it's like a well-kept secret that for some reason we don't want to share it, and I don't know why. In the days of long ago when we had the one-room schoolhouses, we actually did have readers and spellers that had the rules listed in there. But those days are long gone. Most classrooms have switched away from a direct teaching approach where you use phonics to a whole word learning where kids are taught to memorize words based on the shape of the word. And you can see where that might be confusing if your learning strength isn't visual, because a lot of words look the same. They're shaped the same. Think of the words, let me see, there, T-H-E-R-E, these, T-H-E-S-E, and three, T-H-R-E-E. If we were looking just at the shape of those, they look the same. And so, first of all, that depends on just your visual acuity, but also the ability to break those shapes apart into letters. So that's not a very ideal way of teaching spelling. Most spelling programs that I've seen as well will focus on a sound, and they'll have a lot of words that have the same sound, but they'll give the kids, 4 or 5 different ways of spelling that sound without explaining when to use what. So there's a few of the reasons why lots of kids can read, because that's just knowing that, okay, AY says A. So in the word play, I just know that PLAY spells play. But when you ask me to spell it, then I have to figure out what the blend at the beginning is, the pull, right, the PL, and then the A sound. How do I spell that? That's why you're going to see a ton of kids spell the word play, PLA, because that's how it sounds, right? Makes sense. But if they knew the rule that goes with AY is that that's how you spell the sound A at the end of a word, well, then they would know to do that, right? So anyways, the English language is filled with all kinds of rules that are simple like that and easy to apply if you've been taught them. And that's why so many kids can read, but they really struggle with spelling. Common problem. And it's also why I always teach spelling and reading together, always. They go together. One skill is dependent on the other, really, if you want to be a strong reader and writer. Let's have a look here. What else did I want to tell you about? Yes, I have something really exciting coming up, and I'll be talking more about it next week at my live. I am creating a membership, and that membership is going to give you access to all of the materials that I create, all of the lives that I do, all of the guest speakers that I'm going to bring on to talk about literacy. And right now, and I'm super excited about this, I am creating a reading, spelling, and printing program for emergent learners that is going to offer you exactly explicit instructions on how to teach the letters, and then how to teach them for reading, how to teach them for spelling, and how to teach them for printing. And then within 2 letters, and just FYI, I do not teach the alphabet in order, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. No, I never teach it to kids singing it either. That's simply memorization, and it's kind of meaningless. I teach in a sequential order that makes sense so that kids can start blending sounds together for reading and pulling sounds apart for spelling as soon as they've learned 2 letters, just 2 letters. And there's a method to my madness. There's a reason why I do it the way I do it. It works beautifully. I've had nothing but success, regardless of what level the kids are at in their learning. Even for kids that can read, going back and learning the program from the beginning is actually super beneficial. But for all you parents and educators out there that are, starting up this school year in a couple of weeks, and you're working with younger kids, K to 2 sort of thing, this program is going to be amazing for you. I'm going to have the first letter set available for anybody for free to try it by next week. And then I'll be building on that as we go through the school year, but it's going to offer you everything you need for for teaching phonetically the alphabet for reading, spelling, and printing. And I'm also going to be having add-ons like how to teach a sight word, which is a non-phonetic word like the, was, you, where kids just get creative and they try and sound it out, but it's never right because we can't sound these words out. And there's a specific way to teach those ones that's completely different than how we teach words that you can sound out. And that's another reason why kids can read but they can't spell, because we're not direct teaching kids the difference between how to spell a word that is phonetic and to know the difference between those and the ones that we can't sound out. We call them jail words or rule breakers, and they have to be taught in a completely different way. So anyways, that's coming up next week. I'm super excited about that. If you're interested in learning more about my membership, or you want to get on the email list that's going to tell you more about that, just send me a direct message and let me know. And also, every week I love addressing questions that have been sent to me by parents and educators, specifically asking me about something. And so if there is something that you're struggling with or you're not sure how to tackle and you think maybe I could help you out a little bit, please feel free. Direct message me with that too. And I will add it to my list of topics to cover on my lives. And maybe I'll be looking at making materials that are going to support that question, which is really helpful to me because it lets me know what people need in the way of materials, resources, and support. And, I'm also available. I offer a free consultation. You can always get a hold of me either through my website, timetoshineteaching.com. You can reach me through my email, normajeanmaxwell@gmail.com as well. And you can reach me here on Facebook through a direct message. But anyways, I hope that helped and give you a little bit of clarity around why kids can read but they can't spell, and maybe even offered you a bit of information on how to change that around, how to turn it around. So you guys, I am going to go out and enjoy this gorgeous day. I hope you're doing the same. Have a wonderful one, you guys. Take care and happy teaching.